Hello Scorpio friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and I'm going to give you a very in-depth report about how you can expect this January 10th, 2020 eclipse to manifest. Eclipses are very powerful astrological events besides being astronomical events, but the astrology story is longer than the day that it happens. In astronomy, it happens, there's the eclipse, yay. Okay, in astrology, it's a storyline. This storyline started in the middle of 2018. This storyline goes into the middle of 2020. And we are at another chapter. So in between the eclipse seasons, as I call them, the seasons are like the 4 to 6 or a little bit more weeks before the actual eclipses, and the first eclipse is in December, so we really started eclipse season in October, and this goes to a couple months after. So as we get closer to the eclipse, the chance for a major dramatic manifestation to occur is more likely. So this video is intended to show you the areas of life for Scorpios that are likely to be affected, and I'm going to drill down into lots of detail, including exactly where in the Scorpio spectrum you are, as to where exactly it's going to hit for you and what you can expect with that. Many people will experience massive change. Trajectory changes could be sudden surprise, opportunities that take you across the globe, tearful endings, beautiful, blissful new beginnings. All of these things become more likely at eclipse time, and that's why I do so much work to make sure you are equipped to understand how these changes are likely going to affect you. If you've been watching my videos for a while, then you know that until this very moment, I had not figured out split screen videos. I have been wanting to do this forever. So now you can see me while I talk about stuff and give you visuals, okay? So in order to use this information the best, you will need to know where in the 30 degrees of the Scorpio spectrum. Each day is a degree. There's 30 days of the Scorpio birthdays and Scorpio sign. So early degree is basically our October born, or 0 to 9 degrees. Middle, basically November 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees. And late, around November 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. If you have a Scorpio moon or Scorpio rising, this report is for you equally as for these sun placements. The sun chart, the moon chart, the rising chart are all windows. Like, let's say this is the sun window, that's the moon window, that's the rising window. They're all different views out of this RV experience as I'm recording this here as I'm still traveling. They're all different views that I have out of the RV, and they're all true at the same time. And it's the same thing with these eclipses. The different signs of your rising sun and moon are all, and the reports for those are all things that are part of your bigger astrological picture. Okay, so quick summary, then I'll show you the visuals on the charts very quickly, and then I'll go into lots of detail about how I've seen these things manifest after doing thousands of live readings, you know, years and years of in-depth horoscopes and eclipse reports, and tracking them myself for decades. So all zodiac placements are going to have the potential to experience fourth house manifestations because the eclipse is actually in Cancer. Now, the fact that this is a fellow water sign for you all means it's in a harmonious angle to your Scorpio placement. So from the Scorpio perspective, especially if you're in the later degree placement, or any, like actually middle, 15 degrees to 25 degrees, you're going to get a direct, beautiful, blissful kiss from this eclipse. So for all of you in that zone of 15 to 25 degrees, or basically like around, let's see, it's going to be different, but like November 5th through 15th, okay, all of you. And the closer you are to, let's see, the 10th of November or 20 degrees, that's going to be the exact hit on, okay? And like I said, since it's a favorable angle, it's more likely to be a sweet manifestation. Okay, so everyone is likely to see these fourth house manifestations, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Early, middle, and late, ninth house manifestations, and middle and late, you're likely to see eighth house manifestations as well, besides ninth and fourth house. It's going to be very busy, especially for you all in that November birthday range. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the charts and why this is different. In whole house astrology, we wouldn't be differentiating out this way. It would just be ninth house. But in Placidus, it changes, and I'll show you how, okay? So check out just real quick, just to get a visual. Look at this cluster of planets here. See how there's this cluster here in the early chart? Well, as you go to the middle degree, see how that cluster shifts over to the left here? And then when you look in the late degree chart, the cluster shifts over to the left even more. Okay, so that's just an example. Like all of those planetary placements are accentuating different areas as you get later in the sign. And the same is true for this eclipse, all right? So 20 degrees of Cancer is very clearly going to be in the 9th house for your early degree placements. Middle degree placements, that's on the line. It could be in the 9th or it could be in the 8th. And late degree placements, you're probably going to have that in the 8th. But for some of you, it's going to be close enough to also, and actually even all of you, it may be close enough to be in that 9th house, okay? So 9th house, we're going to look out for all of you. Okay, now just an overview of what's going to come. I'm going to drop in a tutorial of how I've seen these eclipses manifest in the 9th house. That's true for all of you. 4th house, manifestations, that's a tutorial, true for all of you. If you are in that middle to late degree spectrum, or basically November born or 20 to 29 degrees, you stay tuned for the last tutorial drop-in, which will be the 8th house tutorial, and that will show you those potentials for that 8th house because you all are likely to see that there. Eclipse time tends to be an emotional time since the eclipses are talking about eclipses involving the moon. And the moon rules the inner world, the realm of emotion. So emotions, for better and worse, are a general theme for eclipse time. We tend to have dramatic occurrences and sometimes just breathtaking, awesome, brilliant new opportunities. So basically things being eclipsed out, things being eclipsed in, and it's just a pretty wild time of major trajectory changes, things coming to fruition, things ending, and things beginning. When there are eclipses in the 9th house or Sagittarius, teaching is a major topic. So you as a teacher, people in the teaching field will see a lot of changes in how they're doing their work. The topic of learning and teaching are pretty much related, and they're both Sagittarius things. So getting educated, learning, your learning journey, educational resources, programs, schooling of any kind can come to an end or come to a fruition. You could be graduating with the eclipse energy, or you could be starting a new chapter, or you could be moving along a continuum of learning or teaching. Some people who are not yet teachers but who are born to be will step out into the teaching realm when it's eclipse time. So anything having to do with writing and publishing and speaking, and again, this is related to teaching. People who are writing, a lot of people who write and are publishing have something important to say. They have a message. Speakers, bringing information out to people, expanding people's horizons. So new projects, publishing launches, movement along, those fronts are very, very, very common. Could be the completion of a book, could be the launch of a book, could be a new speaking opportunity, things like that. Chances to go into the international realms, whether it's via the internet through international business and expanding your work out into an international venue, or actually physically traveling, or interacting with people through your work that are in different countries. I always call this energy of Sagittarius the sage on the mountain, where if there's a little village that has their water source disappear and they go up to see the sage on the mountain, and the sage says, well, I can see that 3 miles up there's a beaver dam. You just clear the dam and you'll have your water back. It's this idea of solutions. It's this idea of solving problems with a different mindset than was created. Einstein said, you can't solve problems with the same mindset that they were created. You have to break out and look at it from a different point of view. And when there's a Sag or 9th house eclipse, sometimes that new viewpoint or that new solution or new optimism will come in. Your actual belief systems and ways of looking at the world can change drastically with an eclipse in the 9th house or Sagittarius. So a way that you saw something could change. A separation from a certain religion or spiritual path can occur. For some people, a dark night of the soul, where they're in that process of not really being sure of their footing in that space, and sometimes a new philosophy or a re-energizing of a previous philosophy, getting on on your spiritual path in a bigger way, either from, going back to an old method or a new way of seeing things. It's very common. So things having to do with belief systems can come to a head or can come into the forefront. And so can work with a church or general spiritual work come in as a big focus. Some people might just see changes within their church or their spiritual ways. So like, a new pastor or a new, spiritual leader or new resources along those fronts. This energy of Sagittarius also has to do with adventure. So the Sag or ninth house eclipse can bring you on an adventure. A lot of times this does involve traveling, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it could be a new tool or, even a book series or a project that is a major, major adventure, doing something that stretches you out of the norm and often out of your comfort zone. I've seen many people have a change with the eclipse in the ninth house or Sagittarius with the taking in or the putting out of information. Okay, so this is along the lines of this teaching and learning, but something like taking the knowledge that you have and doing something with it. A book is one of those ways, publishing, things like that. Sometimes it could be a blog or some other resource where you take this big accumulation of your knowledge and you actually start doing something with it. And for others who have been focusing on those realms, they can start to focus on more mundane or more practical uses of teaching. So this can go anything from like, here I have all this information, here is how you use this information in a practical way, or going and stretching out into, more and more information. So it rules information small, like micro information and macro information. So moving along those fronts, sharing information in those ways. And for many people who are learners, you keep taking in information, but you get bottlenecked because you have no outlet. So this eclipse, for many people, will open you up to an outlet to start draining out of your field all of that information that you've taken in and putting it into something usable or even something lofty and more philosophical. But in any case, a conduit to get it out so that you can have your creative flow back, because you get all of this information out of your space and into where it can be used. Different cultures and immersing in different cultures and different languages, so learning different languages can also be part of this ninth house and Sagittarius specific, or having someone from a different country come to stay with you, or having a relationship with someone from a different country where different cultures and languages come in to your experience in a pronounced way. Okay, so eclipses tend to bring changes in trajectory, new opportunities coming to fruition of things in process, surprises, drama, bright openings, notable things in the forefront of home and family, and some other headers. So we're going to look at some common ways that I have seen the fourth house or Cancer eclipses manifest. Home and housing. So many people will move during an eclipse cycle where there's a fourth house or Cancer eclipse, moving to a new place. Some people, this will include like a bilocation or a multiple location. Like if you have a house already, you can set up a second residence or a different residence in addition to the one you already have. For some people, it manifests as just a complete clean different move. Sometimes it's a temporary move or a temporary change in housing. This energy very much can rule sales, or sales or purchases of homes, getting a home ready for sale, purchasing a new home. Even though eclipse time very often brings these into the forefront, definitely always pay attention to the other information I give for the horoscopes at that time to understand how other transits that can be occurring at the same time as the eclipse season can interfere or enable contractual arrangements and big steps. Very often, a fourth house eclipse will have to do with the changing of occupancy within your home. So let's say you're there and you stay there and the house is the same, but someone moves out or someone moves in. Or you start using your home for home-based business. The starting of a home-based business is very common. At bringing on, an Airbnb or any other home-based business where you're working online. Making repairs or making additions or changes to the home. And again, with these kind of things, definitely pay attention to the other aspects at the time because, minor repairs can be fine at any time, but if you're going to do major additions, there are other astrological factors that I always speak to in the horoscopes that can be relevant. But I do see these eclipses tend to bring movement along these fronts with things like this. Changes in or notable things going on in family, and that's your family that you live with or your family that you came from. Drama, solutions, healings, people getting married, so there's new entrances to the family, people having separations, new children coming into the family. I see a focus on ancestry and genealogy come up very often in this. You might find out you have a relative that is notable. You might connect with someone in your genealogy. You may become really interested in tracking your ancestry or genealogy. Or someone may contact you. Childhood psychology is another thing I see come up. There are rhythms at play in our lives, and and things tend to be cyclical. So the things that you're experiencing now, a lot of the ways that you feel right now, you felt as a child, and that had to do with childhood imprinting and many other factors. But the relationship between what you're experiencing now and what happened as a child, and possibly even prior to, if you believe in past lives or if you believe in genetic memory manifesting as our experience. So, attention to what's happening now as it relates to the past and doing inner work to help stop the cycles for yourself and your family. So that I see that often come up with the fourth house eclipses or Cancer eclipses. So in general, with the fourth house or Cancer eclipse, be prepared to focus on your inner world or the things closest to you, like home level, family level, history, and your emotional or inner space. Eclipse season, which I call the 4 to 6 weeks before or after eclipses, tend to bring in themes that had been in process and tend to bring movement along in certain areas of life. When there are eclipses in the 8th house or Scorpio, the focus comes to everything in these divisions. So dramatic endings, brilliant new beginnings, trajectory shifts, breakthroughs, sudden news that changes everything are very common at this time. So the 8th house in Scorpio relates to other people's money. This is a general topic, and under that header, there are many different things. We've got familial money, so like from your parents or other family members. We have spousal money, so, you and your partner, their work, their income, their lives, their family. And so something can happen with a spouse that affects you. And also your shared money. It's other people's money and it's also shared money. So, collaborations where you're working, sharing your resources with other people's resources. Capital, if you need money for something. So getting loans, new loans, current or prospective loans. So trying to get a loan for something. This can also have to do with credit cards, debt, taxes. So we often see things notable, maybe taxes are paid off or a tax bill comes or something notable as far as it relates to a tax profile. This also has to do with intimacy, like deep emotional closeness, and also anything having to do in the sexual realm. So very notable occurrences can happen. Major endings of intimate relationships, major breakthroughs in intimacy, new partners coming in, new experiences. The topic of power is one that's very common at eclipse time with 8th house and Scorpio representation. How other people are using power, how you are using your power. You know, people not using their power in the right way. People who have power and influence that you connect with that can help you, or you using your power or influence to affect or help other people. Psychology and parapsychology are also topics that are in the 8th house. So basically understanding how how the human mind works and what makes people tick, the interest in studying that, the lines of work that rule that. Also anything having to do with investments, like financial investments or cryptocurrency, new opportunities, things closing, drama, moving along a continuum, new chapters in anything with finances or investments, or how you go about investing, or philosophies, or the psychology of money and the psychology of just in general. So studying those things. Parapsychology. So once you get deep into psychology, there's a pretty easy line into parapsychology. And then in that realm, it's directly connected. Everything is spirit. So spiritual breakthroughs, spiritual studies, I see a lot of palmistry, I Ching, astrology, numerology, metaphysics in this area. So breakthroughs along those fronts, or new resources, or new teachers, or you doing your work in those realms. And this can actually just be mainstream psychology as well. But it can be anything esoteric. Anything that's like the most mundane as far as it relates to psychology, or anything that's the most expanded, and kind of out of the main sector. The topic of mysteries is common. So solving a mystery, having a new mystery come in, having mysterious circumstances, or even for some people, it's just writing a mystery book or getting really into reading a mystery book. So just the topic of the things that are lesser seen is really what the themes are that, that have to do with this eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. Some of the ways I've seen it manifest are, marriages where your money is combined, divorces where your money is separated, people passing away or discussing wills or naming you in an inheritance, whether they're here or not. The topic of what happens to your money or someone else's money when you or they transition. Anything having to do with the pairing up or the merging of resources on any level. So I've seen people win the lotto with things like in here. I've seen people win sweepstakes. I've seen major luck in money happen, and I've seen major surprise expenses or other notable things involving money happen. All eclipses tend to bring a strong amount of emotion because eclipses are related to the moon, and the moon rules our inner realm, our emotional space. But when there's an eclipse in a water sign, and specifically Scorpio, which is really, a very deep abyss of energy, there does tend to be quite a bit of emotion. And this can be for better or worse, but it is, very emotional when the eclipse happens in Scorpio or the 8th house. So having a way to deal with these intense emotions is one of the best ways to be prepared for this eclipse cycle, because you can be more clear and make better decisions and make better use of the opportunities that come, navigate through any challenges that come when you can take the emotional charge off of things. I have a lot of things that I love for emotional energy, but EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, you can look this up online, has a lot of good science behind it. It's not just an energy tool, and you can manage your emotions and clear through emotional patterning with that resource. And there's tons of free stuff online. And it's important to focus on the emotional realm even if it's not coming from the outside, because this 8th house, with being the house of psychology, also has to do with the emotional patterning that creates the fabric of your reality. So making major changes in the patterns of your life is another way that the 8th house can show up. And this can also include the topic of codependency, which I also list under 7th house and Libra eclipses, because these 7th and 8th houses are the partnership houses. So how you relate to other people, your relationship to relationship, not just the key relationships, are something that tends to come up when there's an eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. And the question of your energy and other people's energy, your money and other people's money, and finding a balance and finding your footing in resources and connections with others is going to be a major hot topic at this time. I hope you feel very prepared now for eclipse season and understanding what kinds of changes may be ahead for you. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to check out all of my astrology blogs and all of my other goodies there, including when you sign up for my free email newsletter, you will get a month early a written general transit report, including all of the notable aspects, the dates of the aspects, and what you can expect from each. And you'll also get my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free when you sign up for my free email newsletter, besides other goodies there. If you want written horoscopes by me, go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and all of the links that I give you are also in the notes underneath. If you just click more underneath the video, you'll see all the websites there. So at cozybysweetstarlight.com, I have lifestyle blogs for healthy living, and I also have written horoscopes, again, up 1 month early, so you can check out what else is going on for your sign 1 month early. If you'd like to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, then definitely check out my astrology apprenticeship program, also at anniehelpsyou.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I hope you have a wonderful eclipse season. Definitely check out my horoscopes, my individual horoscopes for each sign for you on my YouTube channel, Annie Botticelli YouTube. You can check out my monthly reports. I always have them up a month early. And definitely also check out the November report, because I do talk about the December eclipse and its manifestations in there. And those eclipse manifestations can echo out, January, February, even March, beyond. So to have a good understanding about where the first eclipse hit, you can check out my November report, where I go into lots of details about that for you. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.